Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Hello, welcome to Lessons of the Journey with Coach Jen and Coach Nicole, where we talk about all the stuff we should have learned in school.
We are so grateful you joined us today. Thank you for being here with us. Today we are talking about gratitude. Coach Jen, shall we define the term gratitude?
Yeah, let's make sure we're all working off of the same information. Dictionary.com says it's a noun, the quality or feeling of being grateful or thankful. Sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think so. If you don't mind me starting, Coach Jen, I've got an idea of where I want to start. And this has been a big sort of message throughout my life recently. And it's the concept of sticking with the duality of being incredibly grateful for everything, whether it's the big gratitudes, the little gratitudes, the everything, and also having the goals and the striving for the more that I value. How do we do that? How do we keep that balance?
I don't know that I believe in balance, but that's a topic for another time. How does all of that exist in the same space is what I'm hearing you ask. You know, we humans are really fascinating creatures. We can experience joy and grief and fulfillment and laughter and sadness. We can experience all of it. And I think that that's the beauty of our human experience, is that we have this wide range of emotions that we get to feel. And we've all heard that old adage, right? You don't get a rainbow without the rain, no roses without the thorn, you know, that whole thing. And so I think that that speaks to the full spectrum of what we get to experience. And I love this concept of duality that you raise, Coach Nicole. I think that it's tough sometimes to sit in that. Like, how can I really be feeling this and really be feeling this? Or how can I sit in gratitude for what exists currently and still know that I want more, that I see more, that I desire more? How do you go about doing that?
Are you asking me?
I am. I mean, this is a very personal experience. I have my own, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But, you know, we're talking about things we should have learned in school. And take yourself back. What didn't you know then that you know now that we can impart?
You know, I didn't know that two things could exist at once. I really didn't know that. And specifically that two emotions can exist at once within myself. I was having a conversation with my future daughter-in-law last night, and we were talking about countries whose sayings they don't say, I am sad. They say, I have sadness upon me. It's the temporariness of it. And I think when it comes to gratitude, there's a lot of pressure around, I have to feel grateful 24/7. And I frankly am going to call bullshit on that, because I don't think in every moment of our lives we're in that space of gratitude. And I believe living in gratitude is visiting gratitude on a daily basis. And for my personality, I do not find gratitude easy. I will tell you right now, this has been a journey for me. I've been working on my gratitude for about 15 years. I am still not an expert. And I'm married to someone who is grateful like easily all the time. He doesn't have to work on it at all.
God, that's so frustrating.
I know. I'm like, shit, just teach me how to do it. And he's like, you just are happy all the time. And I'm like, no, you are happy all the time. I didn't come from that space of having gratitude, thankfulness, appreciation as a part of my life all the time. So for me, I have to access it very, very intentionally. Honestly, in the question we're referring to, I find goal setting way easier than visiting gratitude. I really do. That appreciating where I am, I find the goals and the striving so much easier. And yet I have to sit in this space of, wow, look at this amazing life I have. Look at everything that's there. And here's the reality. I have had people say to me, I have nothing to be grateful for. And I'm like, excuse me, did you just take a breath?
Be still, because my heart.
If you just took a breath, you have something to be grateful for. If you woke up this morning, you have something to be grateful for. If you live with running water and a roof over your head, you have something to be grateful for. And I think we minimize the small gratitudes often in our culture because it's not a big thing. It's big if
Well,
you
it's the
don't
things we
have
take
it.
for granted. Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
I use that in my coaching practice all the time. It's, so what's the alternative? Oh, this is shitty. That shitty. This happened. Da, 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 da. Okay, so what's the alternative? Yes, you're experiencing all of these things. And right now, your perception is of them that they're awful. And what's the alternative? That you don't feel anything? Guess what? You're dead. And
Yeah.
so, you know, it seems cliche. Oh, yeah, I took a breath. Like, it seems very woo woo. Like, oh, I have to sit in gratitude because I woke up today. And there is a part of that. There absolutely is. Because again, what's the alternative? And I hear you in that. I have a sign in my house. There's 3 always. There's always, always, always something to be thankful for. That is the sign. It is a straight wooden sign in my house. I do believe that to be the case. And if there are those days where we're struggling, and I say we, but I really mean me, I'm holding my hand up here. If there are those days where it's really, really tough for me to be like, oh, I'm so grateful for this or that or whatever, I go back to those very basic things. I woke up today, I know that people love me, and I am grateful for this bed that I get to sleep in. I mean, really, out of all of the things, this is what I can call to. And sometimes it's a stretch. Or sometimes it's I had to look for it today. Sometimes it's oh, I'm so grateful that that car let me go in today when I was in a rush. Sometimes it's, oh, I got the thank you, the wave, right? It goes a big long way in my world, right? Get the aloha or the thanks for letting me in, right? Yeah. That is so necessary. So sometimes I really have to call on those things that I sometimes take for granted. Right? I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that clerk smiled at me. I'm thankful that stranger held the door. You know, sometimes it's really a reach. And I truly, truly believe there's always, always, always something to be thankful for. And to your point, having goals is easy. I think setting goals, it's easy. Fairly simple to set a goal. I think we all have them. It's less easy to find those pieces of the day that really call into your joy. And I think that that's something to be aware of. In our last show, we talked about awareness. I think that that's just a running theme in everything that we do in our lives.
I would agree with that. And I will go back to when you said it feels wooey to say, I'm grateful for water, or I'm grateful that I turn on the tap. But you know, that I think right there is sort of the essence of the problem around it, is that there's this concept that it's not important to be appreciative for those things. Well, I'll tell you right now, when your water doesn't come out of the tap, your ass be grateful for when it does. Yes. Why does it take not having it before you go, oh my gosh, now I realize how important it is? And Coach Jen, just to clarify, not just setting goals, but achieving goals.
Achieving goals.
That too. A little harder, a little more difficult. But it's the difficulty of staying in that space of, this is a precious life and existence, and I have wonderful things to be grateful for. And I'm 100% a believer. The more you find gratitude in the world, the more you find things to be grateful for. I always go back to, you can believe nothing is a miracle, or you can believe everything is a miracle.
Yes.
And joy is usually found truly in the smallest of things. And so why are we always seeking for the grateful for the giant, striving? It's got to be this huge thing. It can't just be a flower. I think having this concept, I call them the big and the little gratitudes. And I really believe that sometimes the little gratitudes, the things we perceive as little, running water, waking up in the morning, are actually the big things.
I agree. I do agree. Because what else is there if you don't have that? There's no platform to move through. I really think that, I'm going to second your notion, joy comes from the ability to be grateful for what you have, in addition to wanting and striving for more. So yes, be grateful for the flower and for the hugs in the morning from your children or your spouse or whatever that looks like, or the smile from the person who came across your day. And it's like that old adage, I'm looking for a red truck. I know that I want a red truck. There's no red trucks on the road. I know that I want a red truck. And I go about my day, and guess what? All I see today is red trucks.
They be everywhere.
Everywhere. They're everywhere. I never saw a red truck ever. And now I'm seeing red trucks everywhere. And that's the simplest measure of what we call into our existence. And so what you were saying, when we are looking for things to be grateful for, just like when we're thinking that we want that red trucks will come to us. Things to be grateful for come to us. And when we have the awareness, oh, I'm so grateful for that. It's the energy that we put into our gratitude that calls more things to be grateful for in our lives. And I truly believe that. And I think that is the thing I didn't know. That is the thing nobody told me when I was little. I mean, maybe they didn't know it, or maybe it seemed woo-woo at the time. I mean, the level of consciousness of society is certainly raised since I've been a child. But I really wish that somebody would have driven home, like, look for things to be grateful for, because so much more will come to you. And it's certainly an everyday practice for me and my family now. We don't say prayers at dinner time. We give gratitudes. And it is the most precious thing. I got to tell you, listening to my 3 and my 5-year-old come up with things that they're grateful for. It is such a beautiful thing to hear their little pure hearts say whatever it is. Sometimes it's silly, and sometimes it's like, oh, that gut wrenches me. It's so special. And it's a very cool thing to just hear what they find gratitude in. And I think that if a 3-year-old can look for it daily, certainly anybody at any point in any day can look for something to be grateful for too.
I love that. I once said to my bonus granddaughter, 7 years old, she was 6 at the time, and I said to her, what are you grateful for? And you have to understand, as a coach of adults, I was expecting a similar to adult answer. That girl rattled off like 10 legit things, and I went, girl knows what gratitude is. Like, yes, we're fixing it. Because adults, I have a very different response most of the time. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It was amazing. And I was very impressed. I love that you're doing that. So Coach Jen, do you have any other rituals around gratitude that you do?
So that is our family. We always attempt to have dinner together as a family. That's a value. That's something that we have implemented in our house. And so that is one time during the day that we all get to be together. We have our standard, dear God, thank you for the love of this family. Thank you for our health, our wealth, and our prosperity. We speak that together every night. And that I call a gratitude. Some people might call it a prayer. I don't get lost in semantics. Call it what you will. And then we go around the table, starting with the youngest. And so Max will we have to cut him off sometimes. And then I feel bad about that. Right? Okay. Now there's the standard stuff, right? This kid every day since he heard this song last Christmas says he's thankful for Christmas every day. And there's, I found a much deeper meaning than that, like really what it means, but it's actually a song that he heard that we played on repeat for 3 months. So Max is grateful for Christmas every day. And last night he was grateful for mommy's hugs. And also grateful for when mommy puts him in timeout. And also grateful for Auntie Lori at his school talking about whatever, like the things that he comes up with. And one thing I will note is that you asked if there's any additional things. When we started this, me and their dad, when we started this, everybody would say the same thing every night. And so I issued a challenge to the children, because this is really an awareness that I wanted to create within them to go out into the world and find gratitude. And so I said, hey, I've noticed that you guys repeat the same things every night. And while I'm so happy that those are things that you're grateful for, I'm going to challenge you to say a new thing every night. Since then, they're grateful for the blue skies and the clouds and living in Hawaii and friends and soccer and all of the things. I think that is something that's important. Is yes, there's those bases, right? Yes, I could every single day rattle off the list of the things that I personally am grateful for. And the challenge, which brings a level of awareness to find something new every day. So that is something that we do as a family. Now, me personally, I have my own gratitude practice. Every night when I lay in bed, I speak into existence in the form of gratitude, things that I do want more of. So this is also something I wish I would have understood much, much younger. I would have been able to call into existence many, many more things in my life, which is speak as though it's already in your life. So if I'm having communication issues with my partner, I'm saying, thank you for clear communication. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for patience. Thank you for kindness. Thank you for the love that goes into the words that come out of my mouth. So I'm speaking into existence, hopefully right before I go to sleep. And it's solidifying in that process where we're giving our body rest. And I get to enter the next day with the energy of those gratitudes that I want to exist more. And so that is a practice of mine that I do every night as well. What about you? You have practices?
I do have practices. In the morning, I journal every morning. I would say I'm 80% good at that. And I definitely notice when I don't do it. And I answer some questions. And one is, what are you grateful for and why? It's a very long sequence in the morning that I do for my morning ritual. The practice that I love even more is that my husband and I every night answer 4 questions to each other. And the question is, what are you grateful for? What are you proud of? What do you love and are grateful for about me? And what is your current challenge?
Oh.
And the reason I love this is because when we're talking about gratitude, I want to talk a little bit about proud. And I'm not going to say pride, I'm going to say proud, because pride has in some ways become a word that it's
one of those ickies.
Negative connotation. Yet you've got Pride Month, which is amazing. So it's like this word's been messed with in, multiple ways. But proud is grateful for something I've done. I think a lot of people are looking for more personal achievements. They desire more of what have I done? And yet they don't give themselves credit on any frequency or with any routine on what they can be proud of and what have they done. And it's very cool that my husband and I do it, because but I will tell you, when we started this practice, he had a really hard time with the proud. Okay. He'd always get to that and he'd be like, I'm not sure what I'm proud of. And so I'd be like, well, you did this, you did this, you did that. So I'm like giving him all, he's like, oh, okay. He just doesn't really think in those terms. It can be little things, but what's really cool is sometimes, like yesterday, so we celebrated my son's birthday yesterday and I made a cheese board. And it was nice. I love making cheese and charcuterie boards. It's my thing. And my husband, in the middle of the day, like after my board was done, he goes, this is definitely what you should be proud of, is your board. And I love it when that'll happen during the day, is we'll remind each other of something that we did that could be our proud in the evening. People say they want more things to be proud of, more achievements personally. And yet they don't give themselves credit where that achievement happens. And I think it's really important. And it's hard. You rarely meet someone who says, I'm an expert at being proud of myself.
Right. Usually that person would be an egotistical asshole and we wouldn't want to know them.
Right. Most people are not very good at this and they have a hard time with it because they consider it prideful to be proud of themselves. And yet we have successes every day. And we need to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and be grateful for them. So I love how the two are connected, and I love that practice. I think it's brilliant, actually. And it puts the two of you on the same team, not that you're not already, but really looking out for each other, which is a hope, I think, that in any family, but also maybe good friends, that you're looking out for each other, that you're really each other's cheerleaders, and that you're pointing those things out. Because it is a little difficult to give yourself a little pat on the back and take that moment, especially as an achiever, and I know you are, I am as well. We sometimes forget to stop and take a moment to give ourselves credit for the big thing or even the little thing that was just done. Sometimes getting out of bed is tough. Really proud of myself for getting my feet on the ground today. And sometimes if that's it, that is fabulous. Sometimes that's what that needs to be. And having somebody go, hey, that was a big deal. I recognize that in you, really is a special thing and something to be grateful for, I think. I had lunch with an old broker of mine, and she's always been a teacher of mine. And she made this beautiful distinction between the word proud, because I was saying, oh, I'm so proud of one of my coachees that I've been working with. And she said, you're pleased with, because pride is something that can exist in ourselves. Like what you just said, to your point, pleased with is probably the thing that you can be grateful for. I have so much gratitude for this thing. I'm pleased with this thing versus I'm proud of something that I've accomplished or something that I've done, which I think should come back. This whole be humble, be humble. Yes, don't be a dick, but also like take those accomplishments, because those things stack on each other. And I think that that's important in life to see, look at where we've come from, look at what we've done. And so looking back, I think it's the attitude of gratitude. I am proud of myself and I'm grateful that this occurred. I had the ability to write all of the things that happen in those moments.
Absolutely. And honestly, sometimes it's just, I'm proud I went to the gym.
Yes.
I go to the gym 5 days a week. So it's not really that big a deal yet. For me, it's like today, I'm just proud I got my butt there. Because again, if you're looking for gratitude, things to be grateful for, you'll find more things to be grateful for. If you're looking for things to be proud of, you'll find more things to be proud of. And being proud is not being egotistical. It's acknowledging that you showed up for yourself or for someone else in a way that's worth being proud of. And I think that's a good thing.
I do too. I think the word got bastardized somehow.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
it got thrown under
yes.
the bus. It was kicked around, and we're like,
Yep.
nope, you can't be proud of anything. No, bring proud back.
Bring proud back.
Let's do it. Because I come from the perspective, we've mentioned this before. I have young children. So I'm in a very different phase of my life with my children than you are. And I want to hear your experience in raising them. I'm raising boys. And there's this idea that I want them to be able to acknowledge in themselves that they can be proud of themselves. And really, we as parents go, oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And now after my lunch yesterday, I'm going to say pleased, because words matter. And I think that it's so important to impart on them that really more than anything, it's important for them to be proud of themselves. Hey, I tied my shoes. Oh, that was the first time you've ever done it. Are you proud of yourself? I want a yes. I've been working so hard on this and I finally got it. Yes, I can be proud of myself. Little things like that, I think it's important to impart because the world is tough. You know, as we grow up, not everybody's your cheerleader. And sometimes in those moments, maybe you're the only one that can be proud of yourself. And I think that that's a really important thing to get us through sometimes. And if we can be grateful for that, go. That's your gratitude starts.
What I'm hearing you say is I can be proud of myself, but I can't be proud of someone else.
Well, so this is a new concept for me. So we can dig into it. I think, and maybe we need to call into dictionary.com proud. I'll look it up right now. I loved the distinction that was given to me from this friend of proud of somebody else versus being pleased with. So proud is an adjective, it's a descriptive word, feeling pleasure or satisfaction over something regarded as highly honorable or creditable to oneself. There it is in the definition, to oneself. Definition number 2, having, proceeding from, or showing a high opinion of one's own dignity, importance, or superiority. Having or showing self-respect or self-esteem.
It's interesting because I feel like, and you're talking about saying it to your kids, but I am proud of my son. I raised him. So when he does something and I say I'm proud of the man you've become, it is part of me.
It is. And I agree with that because yes, he literally came out of you. So there is a sense of oneness there. Maybe the distinction was I was talking about somebody that I coach. And for me to attach the idea of my worth to what they're doing is improper. So I can say I'm pleased with how you've done the work and shown up and being proud of then makes it personal for me. And that's inappropriate for that type of relationship. And this is just me processing it out loud with you. I don't know. This just happened yesterday, less than 24 hours ago.
well, let's work on it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So if you know me, and you know me, Coach Nicole, I'm a word freak. Words matter. There's so many words at our disposal that we do not use. And there's so many words that we think we know the definition of, which is why you and I have decided to define the topic because we want to make sure we're working off the same definition. That's how things get convoluted. I thought proud meant something else. You thought proud meant something else. If we're attempting to communicate in that moment and I have a definition and you have a different definition, there is no communication occurring. So it's important that we define these. And I had never looked up proud, and I just did right now with you, and it reinforced kind of what my friend was telling me yesterday, which said it really is about you. And as an extension, I love what you said. I'm proud of my kids too. Yes. And they came out of me. So I feel like I deserve that.
Well, and it begs the question, you know, if you're talking about somebody you're coaching, you do have a participation in their results. So I'm thinking like if I was teaching somebody to do something and then they did it and they did a great job at it, could I be proud of them because I taught them how to do that? It's like there is a bit of ownness, right? If I look at somebody who's just doing something that I had nothing to do with, I did not raise, I didn't birth you, I had nothing to do with you, and you just did X. That's fantastic. You're amazing. I'm so impressed with you. I think what you're doing is wonderful. I wouldn't use the word proud because I have no tie to
That's
that.
interesting. I have used the word proud. I have a dear friend who landed a TEDx talk, and I went, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. I literally had nothing to do with any part of birthing, training, her speech. I had nothing. I got to hang out with her on occasion. And I go, I'm so proud of you. Am I? Like, I feel pride in what? What is the pride? That I've seen you from afar work so hard, and I hope, really what I think that means is I hope you're proud of yourself because I feel so much for you in that moment. And I think that's the distinction. Yes, when we feel attached to something or we see that somebody's achieved, it's that word because we've eliminated the 78,000 other words that could have been used. And we've just decided that proud is the word because that's the one that I'm familiar with. And so that's just why I really enjoyed the distinction of what I learned yesterday. I'm pleased with. So when I'm coaching somebody, I'm pleased with your results. I'm pleased that you've taken the tools and that you've done with it. Because what's on the other side? If they weren't taking the tools, if they weren't doing, would I then be not proud of myself for showing up in all of my ability? Would I then go, I'm not proud of you for, like, I don't know. What's the opposite of proud?
We know that words are important. Knowing the definition of words is important. And also words come with energy behind them.
Yes.
And I have to be honest, I hate the term pleased.
Let's talk about that.
So when somebody says, I'm pleased with you, I'm like, oh, fuck. That is such a platitudinal
Ooh, what's that trigger? Where'd that come from, Nicole?
I don't know. I'm trying to think back. I'm like in the Rolodex, but I'm an old computer, so I take a while to get back in those files. Look, I really can't tell you, but if someone said to me, oh, I'm pleased with your work, that to me is not impressed.
Okay.
That's not impressed. And I'm a words of affirmation person.
Okay.
So maybe that's
my finger went up there because I had a coach thought. No, and I was just about to look up the definition of pleased since we're given all of it.
I feel like it's not effusive enough. Yeah.
That's interesting. So that comes from somewhere inside of little Nicole that says that wasn't enough for me, or I wasn't enough for that. Like I wanted something more from that person giving the platitude. And that's a tough one because sometimes people, just like we're talking about words, don't have the words. Maybe that was the only word they had. And that was a really high praise from that person. And you were like, not good enough. We don't know, I guess is the point. But I hear you in that I used to have a problem with the word accountability. It just it bubbled inside of me. I was like, fuck, I don't need somebody to tell me what to do and check up on me. And like, I just had a strong aversion to the word and I just couldn't make sense of it in all of the coaching groups. And yes, I would be an accountability person as a coach to several people. I just personally, that word accountability, I couldn't handle it. And so I think that it's funny that we decide amongst ourselves that we like this one or don't like that one, or that means something to me that shouldn't mean this, and I'm using air quotes with the should. So I'm looking up pleased right now in dictionary.com. And then, okay, pleased, adverb, not an adjective. Used as a polite addition to requests, commands, etc. If you would be so obliging is the adverb, or a verb used with an object, to act to the pleasure or satisfaction of, to be the pleasure or will of, to like, wish, or feel inclined, to give pleasure or satisfaction. So when all of the definitions say the same thing, it doesn't do much for me. I guess it's derived from pleasure. So if we consider that if I'm pleased with something, I am gaining pleasure from it. That's an interesting concept.
That is interesting. I feel like it's just very mild. It's not effusive enough for me. I just feel like it's so mediocre. It comes across as mediocre, I guess. I don't know. When someone says, I'm pleased with that, I'd be like, oh, crap, that was mediocre.
Satisfactory. Oh, so we're strivers. I mean, I hear you in that because you and I talk regularly about how passionate we are. So we're very intense individuals. And I sometimes crave that intensity back to me. Like when I do a good job, I don't want somebody to go, Jen, that was a good job. I want somebody to be like, Jen, that was fucking awesome. That was absolutely incredible. You nailed it. Nobody else on earth could have done that. Oh, and I'll be like, I am grateful that you were pleased. That's how that would work. But I hear you in that it sounds mediocre. You know what I've had to do over the course of my life? Another thing I wish I would have known in school is that I get to redefine words to suit my pleasure. The word accountability, I had to redefine that for myself. I had to literally look it up in the dictionary. I had to take my version of what it was. I had to take the dictionary definition. I had to merge them together. I had to rectify this version of somebody looking after me or checking up on me and deciding that, okay, you made that up, Jen. Jen, over the course of your life, you made that up. And that came from somewhere deep inside of you, which is why I was kind of playing with you earlier. Like, where'd that come from, Nicole? That came from deep inside of me at some point. And I can tell you, actually, that one, I had bipolar disorder and people regularly felt like they needed to check up on me. And I felt like a child. And I'm like, I don't need to be accountable to you. I can function. I'm not like, there was this, and it just got this ick about it. And so that's where it came from for me. I can actually pinpoint that one. And it took a lot of years for me to redefine accountability. And now I'm not detested by that word anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, accountability. I do this and I'm accountable to this and I'm now more accountable to myself. And it doesn't make me cringe every time I say it. And so I think that that's an interesting concept. And getting back to our gratitude, I am grateful for the ability to have my eyes opened to all that we're talking about. Your perspective is amazing. It helps me understand, oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. I'm grateful that we're having this conversation. I'm grateful that we're able to sit here and discuss concepts like this and learn more and change perspective. And I think that that's something that tonight, when I'm going through my gratitudes, I'm going to be grateful for. The ability to have friends that are open communicators, that tell me how it is, that I may or may not agree with, that is open for communication, that helps us redefine meaning in our lives. These are all things to be grateful for. And that's what I'm taking with me. That's like what your husband did on your proud moment. Today, right now, I am declaring that I am thankful for this moment.
I love that. That's fantastic. I have a coaching question for you, Coach Jen. So let's say you had a client and this client says, I want to create deeper connections with others. I want to express gratitude to the people that I love and care about, or even people I don't love and care about. I want to be better at expressing gratitude, but I have difficulty doing that because I have a fear of rejection, or I feel like I'm vulnerable when I express gratitude. How would you guide that client?
You know, I start off with the platform of compliments don't cost a thing. Giving compliments is a removed way to express gratitude and not feel attached to the outcome. So that is one tool that I would discuss or bring up. Have you ever, Coach Nicole, been out and you've seen somebody and you go, I like those shoes. Those are fantastic shoes. I really want those shoes, but I'm not going to ask her where she got them because I wouldn't tell you. But I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Your shoes are amazing. I love that, right? And have you seen the look on that person's face when you give that compliment? Oh, thank you. Whatever, right? I've been at a bank and my teller's eyes are just amazing, right? Wow, you must hear this all the time. You have stunning eyes. It costs me nothing to put that out there. I don't have to be attached to the vulnerability of it's about me. And I think that is a really, I don't know, easy is kind of not a great word. That is like the introduction to gratitude, in my opinion, is being able to put something out there, a positivity, because then you can go home and be with yourself and go, I'm grateful that I saw those awesome shoes today. And when we can do it with ourselves, it becomes easier to start putting out into the world. And when the courage exists to say those things out loud, I am grateful for your smile today. That is a compliment and a gratitude at the same time. And I promise you, the energy in that moment shifts lives. Like it really, really does. It's that pay it forward thing. It doesn't have to be about me. My gratitude more than usual isn't about me. I am grateful that you exist. Coach Nicole, I am grateful that we get this time together. I am grateful for your friendship. That has nothing to do with me. I might say, I am grateful that I have an energy about me that you appreciate, but then that's being proud. I can be proud of myself that some people might take a liking to me. But that's what I would say to that person. Try compliments. It's a really easy way in and a detached way of expressing gratitude without, taking it personally. What do you think
I
about that?
love that. I think it's fantastic. And I think one of the pieces of that advice is try it with strangers. If you have fear around the people
Yes.
that you care about and you're worried about the vulnerability. And here's the thing about vulnerability. I feel like it's really just a lack of experience. I mean,
Yes.
if we're an expert in something, do we feel vulnerable when we have to do that thing? Generally, not so much. We're like, I got this. But in the beginning, when we don't know how to do something, we feel vulnerable because we don't have the experience. Honestly, Coach Jen, if you said, I love your eyes, and she said, fuck you, you'd be like, okay, you'd
Never
just
mind.
be like,
I'm not gonna say nice stuff anymore.
But I don't think you would do that. I don't think it would stop you. And that's a drastic example.
Well, me
of course.
personally, no, but yeah.
But that's what I mean. You'd be like, I'm still going to compliment the next person because I really do like your eyes. Honestly,
Yeah.
you and I would probably go to, oh, this person is having a horrid day. What is happening to this
Yes.
poor person? I'm so sorry for this person. And we'd probably give them a silent energy prayer, whatever you want to call it. We would see that pain in that person. But you and I are good at giving compliments. And so I think with the people that aren't so experienced, it does help when you start with people that you don't know, because if it becomes easier to give people that you don't know compliments, then it's easier with the people you do know.
Agreed. And there's a certain level of detachment. So it's a little easier.
And asking that question of how do you feel when someone gives you a compliment? Because I think sometimes people have this odd way of responding to compliments. So my husband was taught by one of his CEOs. The guy gave him a compliment. My husband brushed it off. The CEO looked at my husband and said, the proper response to a compliment is thank you.
Yes.
Right? He goes, that's the proper response. You're right. And it doesn't mean he's good at taking the compliments. And it also makes you feel good. There's this sense of feeling good. And my drive to the gym, I drive by this house and they have a banner outside, spread kindness. That shit's free.
Yes.
Every day I read it and I'm like, yes. Yeah. We gotta spread it. We got to spread.
Yeah,
it. Absolutely.
Well, I want to speak to what you were just talking about with your husband, because I had a CEO tell me the same thing. So I'm noticing a pattern in those that are successful. I think that my inability to receive a compliment started at a very young age. Again, being an achiever. And so not taking the time to be proud of myself for little accomplishments, or just being the way that I was raised. When somebody would say thank you, or take the time to a heartfelt, not just a thank you in passing, but thank you, that really meant something to me. I don't know if it was happy or confident or proud, or I don't know what it was that I didn't have when I was younger that wouldn't allow me to take that in. But it was like, oh, I would have done it anyway. So it's not a big deal. It's what we were talking about with proud. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And I tell you that if somebody takes the time to tell you a heartfelt thank you, it is a big deal because it was a big deal to them. They didn't have to do that. It's actually really not cool for you to brush off a solid thank you. God's honest truth, I used to say, oh, no worries, no worries, no worries, no worries. And that CEO stopped me and said, the appropriate response is thank you. He said the exact same thing that you just said. And I went, thank you. And I've never said no worries ever again, because right then in that moment, I went, oh, I get it. He's a very powerful man. He didn't have to sit and acknowledge the thing that I just did. And yet he did. And so thank you is the appropriate response. And that's just one version of so many that exist in that. Another gratitude. Gosh, you're giving me a whole list for tonight. I am grateful that I had those experiences with those people that have allowed me to expand my perception on what that actually means. Because for us to just brush it off really is not cool on our part in regard to that other person. So another gratitude, add into the list. Ooh,
love it.
Y'all are going to go home with a whole list to think about tonight. This is my favorite show.
So I want to talk about the fact that when we talk about gratitude, sometimes there's the frustration of external negativity affecting people's mindset, and also the concept of comparing ourselves to others' success and feeling like we can't be grateful because we don't have X success or we don't look like this person. Can I be grateful for my body with all of the things that I perceive as not good? And I think there's a big effect of this coming from social media.
Yes.
And I also know that sometimes there's a little bit of, I guess, difficulty in maintaining a gratitude practice, difficulty in acknowledging gratitude, getting gratitude going. And I want to talk a little bit about the concept of curating your social media so you are getting the things that feed your gratitude and your self-worth versus drain your gratitude or make you feel like you can't find it.
Gosh, there was a lot right there.
Yes,
there was a lot. Okay, so in my personal experience, going back to that sign, there's always, always, always something to be thankful for. And this goes back to the top of the hour in which you said, how do we maintain gratitude and strive? How do we sit here and be good with where we are and know that there's more? And I tell you, what I have found is that, yes, it's important to look beyond. It's important to know. And if you can't be good with what you already have, what makes you think you'll be good with what's out there that you don't have yet? And I think that that's really important, especially when we talk about gratitude having energy. If I can't sit with what I do have and what I can call into my immediate existence with what I am grateful for in front of me, why would I be so cocky to think that when those things happen, I'll be happy? If it doesn't exist in you now, it's not going to exist in you then. It's not. Because if you don't have the ability to be grateful for what you already have, you sure as shit are not going to have the ability. I think that if you can't figure it out now, it's not coming later.
That's a fantastic point. And I think it's interesting what kind of just hit me, my little light bulb moment, was the concept that I'm not personally a believer in a single being in charge of our lives. And yet in this scenario, if you think about this single being going, let's say you're not grateful for what you have, well, screw you, you don't get no more. I kind of think that's how the world works. If you can't be grateful for what you have, why do you deserve to have more? Why do you deserve to have better? Because you can't even sit in gratitude for what you have. I think that's a really, really good point.
Yeah. The same vein that no matter what you believe, really it's the energy that surrounds it. And that's actually a studied field. You can go to the science on that. You have an energy field. Dr. Joe Dispenza, I'm obsessed with what he's talking about and how we literally can create what's in front of us. If you feel like there's nothing to be grateful for, well, you're not going to find anything to be grateful for. It starts with one thing. Even if you think it's silly, even if you're like, well, today sucked. Okay, today might have sucked, but does today define your entire being? Your gratitude doesn't have to come from just today. Your gratitude can come from, gosh, I just had this really beautiful memory from my 4th birthday party when my mom did this. I'm so grateful for her. There is always, always, always something to be thankful for. And if it's not in your immediate sight, go back, find something. If it has to be a stretch, let it be a stretch. If that's how you're going to start your practice, stretch as far as you need to. There's a book that I have for my kids, and it's called Right Now, I Am Brave. And it talks about how if in fact you are not in any immediate danger, if you are in immediate danger, this goes out the window. If you are not in any immediate danger, then you have the opportunity to decide to be brave. And what you were talking about, being brave might be looking back and finding something to be grateful for. Being brave might be, I'm not in any immediate danger and I'm going to choose to exercise this muscle of giving somebody a compliment. Being brave might be standing and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm grateful that you got out of bed today. Yeah. There are so many versions of what that can look like. And if you have the ability, if you in fact woke up today and you have the ability to take that moment, y'all are going to hate me for this. There is always, always, always something to be grateful for.
I agree 100%. And I think that we can be incredibly intentional with this as well. We can curate our social media so that we are part of groups of people that are grateful. If that's not what you're seeing, go make it so you are seeing it. And by the way, I know we talk about curating your social media, but y'all, you need to curate your real life too. Who's in your circle? Who's showing up for you? And are they showing up in this gratitude? I will tell you, my husband had no clue about these concepts, and I had to drag his butt along, and now he's so grateful. He goes, look, you're coming on the journey with me, because it's either you come with me or I leave you behind, and I love you too much to leave you behind. So let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's figure out this life. I think there is a bit of a fear of stagnation and personal growth for some people, and especially women of our age group. I always come back to stagnation is death, but we've got to create habits that cultivate growth. We really do. And I'm big on time management. You know that, Coach Jen. That's a big thing for me. And I want you guys to think about the concept of 2 for time. It's not multitasking, because you're not actually multitasking. You're just switching back and forth, which is really bad for us, and we don't do it well. 2 for time is like, hey, I'm going to the gym. Okay, what are you doing while you're at the gym? Are you just listening to music? Why aren't you listening to a podcast on gratitude? How come you're not talking about your gratitudes while you're in your gym time? If you're already somebody who journals, are you journaling about things that you're grateful for? We can just bring little things into our lives that build on what we already are doing with our time. Because I know specifically for people that are more like you, Coach Jen, with the little ones, I have a little more time on my hands, but you don't. You have little ones that are demanding and want their time. But there are things that you do that you can add on to it. And I love that you incorporate your children. I'm going to take that as my takeaway. You incorporating your children. I'm going to do that so many more times with my grandchildren now. They're going to be, all right, Gigi, fine. I'm grateful for this, this, and this. Stop asking me. That's fantastic. I think that is such a wonderful practice. And it's teaching your children to look for those grateful things. And I love that you challenge them to look for something different. And I want to say, Coach Jen, that I am so extremely grateful for you. And the reason I am grateful for you, which I think is important for us to often say the reason. We can say why we're grateful, and it kind of is our head, but really to drop it into our heart, we have to say why. I think you are a strong and powerful woman. I love your energy, and I think you're an amazing mother who is raising beautiful boys. I love it.
Thank you. Oh God, don't make me talk about me being a mother and I'm just going to lose it. I agree. That head-heart connection is so necessary. And thank you for that. I'm grateful that somebody that I admire so much could have such positive things to say. I will start crying now. Don't catch me in this one, Coach Nicole. you're killing me.
We're not emotional. That is not at all. None of us.
Not at all. No, I don't hide anything under this tough exterior. Nothing. I'm going to take that with me tonight. Thank you so much for that. And I do feel that. I'm so appreciative of you taking the time for that. Thank you. I think you're right. I have you ever heard of, and I know we're going to be wrapping up pretty soon. I kind of want to give like a practical takeaway, if you will. Have you ever been told, like, if you really need to be able to bring yourself present, I've heard it said, go out on a nature walk and then just call out the things you say. I see a rock. I see a yellow leaf. I see, to really bring yourself to that grounding presence. That's something that I've heard and have done regularly, to bring myself back to present. And I think that that's actually a really practical thing that we can do if we are starting a new gratitude practice. I think that to bring it to our awareness, if we just decide that we're going to leave the house and look for things to be grateful for. I am grateful that my car started first thing this morning. I am grateful that there's no traffic on the way to work. I am grateful that so-and-so let me merge. If we are looking for things to be grateful for, more things to be grateful for will come in front of us. And I think that if we take that awareness and we're starting a gratitude practice as though we're just starting today, you're hearing this today, you think it's a great idea, do that. Wake up one morning and say, grateful, my feet hit the floor today. Look for it. And it might sound absurd to you initially. And I just would love for you to take notice. Notice that things are different when you approach your life with that attitude of gratitude that we hear so much about. I think that that's just a really easy way. And you don't have to be loud about it. You can do it to yourself. Talk to yourself. Yes. I am grateful for. And I think that's a really great practical way to just start a gratitude practice. What do you think?
I love that. I think it's fantastic. I also like the idea of, like I said, incorporate it with something else you do. You know, if you have morning coffee every morning, What are you thinking about while you're having morning coffee? Could you come up with 3 things you're grateful for? And why are you grateful for them? And take Coach Jen's advice that she gave to her kids, something different every day.
Look
something
for it.
different.
You'll find
every
it. I
day.
promise you'll find it. Yeah.
Yep. By the way, Coach Jen, that's also an anxiety trick. If you're having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, you're supposed to look for 3 things you can see, 3 things you can smell, 3 things you can hear, because it brings you back to your senses. It's very grounding and it's very quick. So
I love it.
Bonus
today. Thank you for that. All right. It's about that time. I think we could have this conversation all day. I really do.
Well, you and I could have pretty much any conversation.
True. Oh man, we have no fun together. You already told me your takeaway. You want to reinforce it for the world?
My takeaway was the children and asking kids what they're grateful for, what they're proud of. I like the idea of doing both because I know my 7-year-old granddaughter, she'll just look at me and go, what does proud mean if she doesn't know? Because she's always asked for clarity on definitions. I love it. She asks for words.
Oh, I love that.
We try to use big words around her. So she might even ask, what's the difference between proud and grateful? You know, because I'll ask her, what are you grateful for? What are you proud of? Children. My
takeaway was what you do with your husband, the 4 questions. What are we grateful for? What am I grateful for in you? I love that. And then what are you proud of? And then what your challenges are so that we can work on them together. I love that practice. I would like to start that with my family. So thank you for that.
It's wonderful. And Coach Jen, when someone tells you their challenge, do you need me to listen? Do you need me to get involved? Do you need me to solve a problem? What do you need from me? Because that's important too, especially with the kids. What do they need from you?
Absolutely. And I will admit, as much as I coach, and that is the basis of all coaching, right? I'm not looking to solve anybody's problems. I'm a mirror. We hold it up. We talk about it. I'm not solving anybody's problems until I turn back into mom. So I will admit that, oh gosh, I want to help my kids, right? We get this whole, let me solve all of your problems. I do have to remember that is not my job. My job is to keep them safe, not necessarily happy, and to explore the world around us. And so I don't have to have all the answers. So thank you for that reminder. It's a regular thing. Okay. Maybe one of my favorite parts of what we do is, are you ready for my random question of the day?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. When you said this is your favorite part, I got a little nervous, Coach Jen.
You know, why is it my favorite part? I mean, because you and I, we know what our theme is going to be when we enter this. And so, you know, we kind of have not necessarily a cultivated conversation, but, you know, very direct. And what I think is fun about this is that for the same reason, when you give me a question I don't know, I go, I have to be on the spot. Oh, I have to answer because the time is running and something needs to happen. So I think that that's the fun part for me, and probably not my favorite. I think the whole thing is my favorite, and I don't get to do this with anybody else. So, okay, here's your question. What's the weirdest way you have ever met someone?
Oh, I do have this story. Okay. One of my very bestest friends, we have been friends for like 13 years. Her and I are super close. Here's how we met. Get this. There was a woman we were both friends with on Facebook. Talk about curating your social media. We didn't like her. Neither one of us. Now, we don't know each other. This woman posts something that was just so out of line. And I'm thinking, what the hell is she posting? This woman, she responds in the most eloquent, gorgeous way. I was like, I don't know who this woman is, but I have to meet her. So I private message her. And I'm like, I don't know you. You don't know me. But I just feel like after that comment, I have to meet you. So then she goes and she looks me up on Facebook, make sure I'm not crazy. Because she's like, I don't know this person. We go to have lunch and we've like been best friends ever since.
I love it.
13 years. And we always laugh at that story because, oh yeah, we met through one of the psychos in our neighborhood.
I love it. What is that? My friend is enemies with my enemies. Or like, what is that? There's a quote or something around that. I love it.
Enemies of my
You're like,
enemies
no, we
are
hate
my
the
friend.
same people.
Yes.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
We're friends because we hate the same people. Yeah, that's why.
But, you know, we have the story. Yeah, so that's my most random, I think, or whatever the term was used. Yeah.
No, weirdest way. Yeah.
Weirdest way.
Yeah, because you could have been 2 random stalkers.
And if I hadn't have been vulnerable and private messaged her, I would never have known her. And I have to be honest, it was a vulnerable moment, but I was like, this is a smart, eloquent, because I wanted to write, like, you should have heard the shit going through my head, Coach Jen. I was like, you're a dumbass. Why would you say something so fucking stupid? Like, that's the kind of things going through. And here comes Tracy with her eloquent words. And I'm like, I need you in my life. Just like
I need you in my life.
I need you to teach me how to tell these fuckers to fuck off, but kindly.
If only to be my word consultant.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes, my word consultant. Oh my gosh. That's a fantastic question. Okay, my turn.
Okay.
Coach Jen, who is your hero and why?
Oh gosh. So this is actually a question on my intake form. And so you'd think that I would have the straight up answer, like I've answered it.
Oh.
This is going to be very strange. And this is a proud moment for me. My hero is me right now. And this is why. In my lunch yesterday, this woman has known me for a long, long, long time. And she's seen me through multiple lives. She's seen me through mental health. She's seen me through the death of a fiance. She's seen me through the birth of 2 children. She's seen me through the start and the middle and close to the end of a real estate career. And she's seen me through all of these things. And number one, she still really likes me, which I think is very cool. But also, she had the ability yesterday to reflect back to me the things that we were talking about today that I did not ever sit down to take note of to allow myself to be proud of. And there's been some shit. And I know there's been some shit in all of us. And that woman at the start of that did not feel that there was at all a capacity in all of the mental health, the bipolar, the problems, did not at all think that this woman right here would exist, could possibly exist, had the tools, had the ability to survive, let alone thrive. And so I think that I'm proud to be able to say that I am my own hero today. And that makes me really happy to say. I'm going to get emotional again.
Oh, I love that. How perfect is that? That's such a beautiful example of proud. And I'm so happy for you that you're in that space, knowing some of those experiences that you've been through and having known you in the time that I have. I'm just really grateful that you can be proud for you because
thank you.
I think that's wonderful. And I don't know if it's appropriate or not because I have nothing to do with it, but I'm proud for you too.
Thank you.
We just don't know if
Proud's
that's right.
for.
We're trying.
The jury's still out on that.
We're just not
We
sure.
might have to
We don't
continue
have all
that
the
discussion.
answers. We love to talk about gratitude because we are very grateful. We have fantastic lives and we're going through the shit too. Always going through the shit. Everyone's going through the shit. It doesn't mean we can't find the space to have the gratitude. And I'm grateful for you, Coach Jen, and I'm grateful for our listeners. And I appreciate everybody who takes the time to spend some time with us.
Ditto that. Without crying some more. Thank you. I love this. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Write your lives with passion.